Marcus Williams had always dreamed of owning land, a ranch where his children could play, where horses could roam, and where his family could finally feel the freedom that generations before him had been denied. After years of hard work, saving every penny from his construction business, he finally purchased a sprawling piece of land on the edge of a quiet suburban town. To Marcus, this ranch wasn't just property. It was a symbol of perseverance, independence, and legacy. But not everyone welcomed him with open arms. The community's homeowners association, the infamous HOA, had long been known for their strict rules and petty regulations. They didn't like outsiders. And they especially didn't like seeing Marcus, a successful black man, owning the largest and most beautiful piece of land in their neighborhood. From the moment he moved in, they made it clear he wasn't wanted. At first, it started small. Letters about his barn being too rustic. Complaints that his horses made the area look less uniform. Notes slipped under his door about how the color of his home wasn't aesthetic enough. Marcus was patient. He complied with every regulation, kept his property in pristine condition, and paid all his dues. But no matter what he did, the HOA found something new to criticize. One chilly morning, Marcus drove down the familiar dirt road to his ranch, only to slam on the brakes. His heart dropped. Surrounding his entire property was a towering metal fence. Locked. Impenetrable. There was no way in. No warning had been given. And when he demanded answers, the HOA smugly told him they had taken measures to protect the neighborhood's integrity. But the truth was clear. They were trying to lock him out of his own land. To force him to give up. To sell his beloved ranch for far less than it was worth. And the HOA president, a man named Richard, made sure to twist the knife even deeper. He dangled the single gate key in front of Marcus and sneered, "You want access? You'll have to play by our rules." Neighbors whispered. Some even laughed, shaking their heads at how Marcus had been trapped by the very people who pretended to protect the community. But what they didn't know was that Marcus wasn't a man who folded under pressure. He didn't rage. He didn't beg. Instead, he calmly nodded, walked away, and began working behind the scenes. He called his lawyer. He studied the HOA's rules, finances, and past dealings. And what he uncovered was more explosive than he imagined. The HOA wasn't as powerful as they seemed. In fact, they were drowning in debt, owing money to contractors, banks, and even facing lawsuits from previous homeowners who had suffered under their iron fist control. For weeks, Marcus moved quietly. He gathered documents. He negotiated deals. He watched as Richard and the other HOA members grew bolder, mocking him in meetings, boasting about how soon his ranch would go back on the market. They didn't know Marcus was 3 steps ahead. Then, one evening, the HOA held their usual meeting at the clubhouse. Richard sat at the head of the table, smirking, the gate key hanging from a chain around his neck like a trophy. The members chuckled among themselves, already celebrating Marcus's downfall. But when the doors opened, silence fell. Marcus walked in, sharp suit, calm expression. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He simply placed a thick stack of legal papers on the table and said, "This meeting is over. I own this property now." Confused murmurs filled the room. Richard laughed, assuming it was some bluff. But when Marcus handed copies of the documents around, their faces drained of color. Deeds, transfers, bank authorizations. Marcus hadn't just bought back his freedom, he had purchased the entire HOA property, including the gate, the fence, and even the clubhouse they were sitting in. The room erupted in chaos. Some argued. Some tried to deny it. But the truth was undeniable. Marcus now held the only power that mattered, ownership. And as everyone sat stunned, he reached into his pocket, pulled out the shiny gate key Richard once used to taunt him, and said calmly, "Funny thing about power, it changes hands when you least expect it." Word spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. The man they had mocked was now the very person they had to answer to. For days, people waited, nervous about what Marcus would do. Would he evict the worst offenders? Would he raise their dues? Would he finally take revenge? But Marcus had something else in mind. Instead of building higher walls, he tore them down. The fence that once locked him out was removed. His ranch was opened, not just to his family, but to the whole community. He invited neighbors for barbecues, horse rides, and family gatherings. Children played where once there had only been bitterness. The land that was meant to divide became a place of unity. Slowly, the whispers changed. The same people who once sneered now found themselves respecting him. They couldn't deny his intelligence, his patience, and most of all, his dignity. And Marcus, he stood taller than ever, not just as a landowner, but as a living reminder that no matter how high someone builds a fence, perseverance, strategy, and grace will always find the key. His ranch became more than a dream. It became a legacy. And the story of how a man who was locked out ended up holding the master key would be told for years to come.